So now we are going to work with React Native Navigation. React Native Navigation means that how you switch between screens on your mobile application. You need a library for that. So for that we are going to use a library which is called React Native Navigation or React Navigation. It's under the website reactnavigation.org. So you click on it and then you will have here this screen where you can start reading the documentation. Of course, it's changing often, so it's better as well. You have docs, you have to search for the documentation and you will go for it directly. So here getting started. So getting started with the application or with React Native Navigation is very important. So here there are some information, some minimum requirements. You have to check them always. You have TypeScript version if you are using TypeScript, etc. So first of all, you need to install the required packages. Of course, I am following here the documentation as you see here because sometimes it's getting updated, especially with very small steps. For example, I will show you later how there is one line added to update the React Native after it got updated to 0.6, and now they made update for that, especially for that change in React Native. So first of all, we copy the command which is called npm install. But very important note. First of all, you need to close your application. Yes, you need to do that because to avoid problems during the application is running, like during the installation, the application when it's running, it's blocking some files. So the React Native Navigation will not be able to be included to the application directly until you restart it. So to be on the safe side, it's better to close the terminal which is called Metro, as you see here, and we talked about it before. So it's better to close it totally, terminate it, and make sure that your application is disconnected from Metro. Now you go to Visual Studio Code as I told you before, and then you open the terminal and then execute the command which I copied. So I will say here npm install React Native Navigation native. So first we press enter, we continue there, try to minimize this a little bit, and then we wait until the library get installed. Okay, so now the library got installed. It's already in our application. Make sure you are in the application path to not have any issues. Let's continue with the documentation. So the documentation says, okay, we installed the library. Of course, we need another 2 libraries which we need to install. First, we are not using here Expo, but we are using React Native. So for Expo, you don't need this command as you see here. So we are using React Native. So we have now this command. So for Expo, you install or you make this one. For React Native, which I prefer always, we use npm install React Native screens and safe area context. Screens is the library which supporting the screens. So generating the screens components. And also React Native safe area context is some library which avoid for you to not have the application from here, because here, for example, we have the camera and the speaker. So for that, it's avoiding. So this safe area, it will be this area without this header here. So when you include your application inside a component called safe area context, then it will start from here. So it will not be included in the header and kill the time and, for example, the battery and etc. So now let's install those 2 libraries. Let's go here again and we will go to Visual Studio Code, paste the command and continue. So I am showing you those steps because it's important to follow always the documentation to avoid having some issues in the future. So if this library got updated after publishing this course, and I will try always to fix that, so make sure that you are following the documentation better than me. So here I guided you how to use the documentation and follow the steps in the right way. So let's check our library. Okay, everything got installed. If you remember, we need as well to install something for iOS, especially for iOS, which is called pod install iOS. Here there is some notes. Look, for example, here it says like some change. So from React Native 0.60 or higher, linking is automatic. So you don't have to do React Native link. React Native link before that version was doing like some linking the libraries from Node modules here to Android and iOS applications, as you see here, because here we have Android application and iOS application. Of course, we don't need to work with them. Our work is here only on the top level with TypeScript and also those files which we are going to see later. So here iOS and Android projects, we are not going to touch them because we don't need that. But the linking between Node modules and those projects is done now automatically. You don't need to run the command which is called React Native link. So let's continue with our comments. So he says, if you are on Mac and you are developing for iOS, like my case, you need to install npx pod install iOS. So let's do that. So I will go again here and say paste and then install those libraries or ppod install iOS. So for that, we are also getting ready to have all dependencies which we need for our application. So now everything got installed. Also make sure that you are not behind proxy or you have privileges on the folder or on the PC. You are administrator on the PC, so you don't have issues. So now let's continue here. Like it says, okay, if you are using something like properly for Android, then you need, or this library requires additional configuration step to properly work on Android devices. So for example, you need to go to main-activity.java file where is located in. So as you see, we have Android app src. You don't need to know what are this, but just copy this line here. So first of all, we need to go to this path, Android app source, and then main Java and your package name, and then main activity Java, and we add the following lines in the body of the class main activity. So first of all, we need to copy this part, go to our code, and then I go to Android app src and then main, and then I will get my Java and then main activity dot Java. Here, as you see, it's already went com cryptocurrencies or crypto prices, and then we have main activity dot Java. And here is the class. So let's me close this. So we have the class here, which is called main activity. And at the end, I am going to add this line. So we have here override and then crypto or onCreate bundle saved instance and onCreate. So you don't need to know what is this, but it's better as well to add those lines following the instructions to make screens library works fine. And also import statement on the top of this file. So we have to copy this part and then go here, and then on the top we say import Android iOS or OS bundle, as you see here, and then we save. So for that, sometimes a Visual Studio Code give you some notification that some extension for Java, you don't need them, just ignore it. So now the change is required to avoid crashes related to the view state and not being persisted, and also like when you are doing some save or fast reload of the application, as I showed you, to not have like those issues. So now after we have installed everything, we need to create or make or use a component which is called the navigation container. So first of all, we need to do import navigation container from React Navigation Native. So we copy that line, we close this file, and we go to our app.ts exactly here, and we import that file or that component, which I told you will contain our screens. So first we have navigation container, and then we call this navigation container, and here we are going to place our screens, as we will see later. So for that, let's remove everything, goodbye hello world and everything, and we place exactly the same way. I am going to have here navigation container. So let's also remove those lines and save everything, or no, we must keep something even it's empty, so it's better to keep it. And then we are going in the next lecture to see how we can have the screens themselves. So I will say here like hello React navigation, and we are going to continue in the documentation, as we will see later, to create our screens.